Hi Gemini, welcome to your December 2025 astrology forecast. We have a lot of Sagittarius energy as we start off the month. We have the Sun, Venus, and Mars moving through Sagittarius in your 7th house. This means the house of relationships, one-to-one connections, and partnerships are activated. There's a lot of energy. Sagittarius energy is very expansive and it's fiery and it loves adventure. So you may be getting out there a lot more, dealing with one-to-one connections or just relationships in general. Mars in Sagittarius is very fiery and assertive. It loves to explore. Sun in Sagittarius is all about wanting to expand its horizons, to reach out to people that are different from us. So you may be especially attracted to people that come from different countries, different cultures, that speak different languages. And Venus in Sagittarius is the similar type of energy. We're just willing to explore more and try different things and meet new sort of people. Venus is recently separating from an opposition to Uranus, which is on the cusp of your 1st house. Uranus expands the energy of Sagittarius. Uranus is a bit rebellious and it loves to try new things, do things that are outside the norm or what's considered conventional. So you may really be looking to or wanting to break free from the things that feel familiar or even stagnant, especially related to relationships. Venus is also separating from a trine aspect to Neptune on your 11th house cusp. Neptune and Venus together means that love, affection, connections, social charm, all those things are very idealized. There may be a very specific type of group or social network you want to be part of, but know that there is deceptive or even elusive qualities that you may be pulled towards. You may even be fantasizing a lot about the type of relationship that would satisfy you or that would fulfill your cravings. On the 1st of December, Venus is also perfecting a sextile aspect to Pluto. Pluto can deepen desire, cravings, creativity. There is a bit of intense energy around relationships or one-to-one connections or our social life. Typically, when Venus and Pluto are in a supportive aspect like a sextile, there's some sort of healthy obsessions. You may be thinking about travel as well or expanding your knowledge, skill sets, since Pluto is in your 9th house. So using philosophy, religion, spirituality, things like that, you may be wanting to transform yourself, especially related to the things that has to do with the intellect or knowledge and wisdom, since it's Sagittarius and Aquarius energy. Venus does move pretty quickly, so it will move away from the aspects to these outer planets by the 4th of December. December 4th is also our full moon, which is going to be in your sign in Gemini. So the full moon is activating your 1st house as well as your 7th house with the sun positioned there. What's really interesting about this full moon energy is the sun and moon are perfecting a grand cross aspect to the south and north nodes, which are currently traveling through your 4th house and your 10th house. So there is a lot of square aspects. And typically when we talk about the nodal axis, we are confronting the past and the future or the present. There's some sort of confrontation related to past, present, who we are versus our relationships, where we're going versus the type of relationships that we either tended to attract in the past versus how we would like to move towards, or what type of relationships we would like to attract in the future. There is a sense of duality also related to our private life versus public life, but these are happening in mutable signs, meaning that there is a lot of change and shifts, transformations that are happening around this time. Also, on the same day, there is a water grand trine between Mercury, Saturn, and Jupiter. Mercury is traveling in your 6th house in Scorpio. Jupiter Jupiter is in Cancer in your 2nd house, and Saturn is in Pisces in your 10th house. When it is a supportive and harmonious energy in the water signs involving these sort of planets, there can be information that's coming through, some sort of helpful or insightful, meaningful dialogue that could be happening. But in a general sense, it's information that is of good nature. So good sort of advice from mentors, elders, people we look up to or respect. There is a sense of nurture and support as well with Jupiter in Cancer. Mercury in Scorpio does talk about introspection or insights that's coming from within that has to do with our truth, related to our authenticity. So any decisions, any information that may be coming through around this full moon can be very helpful in directing our life, and knowing our inner compass, if you will. There's just a good energy, but it is intense. Again, the nodal axis does play a big role on this day. So there may be some sort of karmic cycle that's coming into a close, or a culmination to some sort of karmic debt, possibly. Now, moving on December 8th, we do have a bit of a tense energy when Mars comes to square Saturn. Mars and Saturn are both known as malefic planets in traditional astrology, meaning that they typically bring conflict, tension. We're faced with obstacles and challenges, especially when they are in a fighting energy like a square. This is happening between your 7th and 10th house. So some sort of co-worker relationship or partnership related to our professional life or career can experience a sense of hurdle. It will test your endurance, maybe even your commitment, but it can be a bit frustrating, especially if you do have personal planets also positioned on the 25th degree of a mutable sign, opposing or conjuncting, squaring Saturn and Mars, which could mean it could have more of a personal impact for you. On December 14th, this tension is going to continue on when the Sun comes to conjunct Saturn. But as the Sun conjuncts Saturn, Mars is perfecting a square aspect to Neptune. When it's Sun and Saturn acts as like a blockage for the Sun, which is our ego, vitality, our sense of identity, direction, in life. So you may be faced with some sort of pushback or restrictive energy that really tests your ego, and it can feel like a huge hit to your vitality or spirit, especially your sense of individuality and your sense of personal freedom, because again, the Sun and Mars are in a sign like Sagittarius that values those things. And when it's being opposed or squared by Pisces, it's having to consider other people, it's having to be empathetic and compassionate. So there is some sort of challenge related to our own sense of free will versus having to maybe even put others' needs first. When it's Saturn and Neptune working together in Pisces-like energy, you really have to have some sort of understanding related to the suffering of other people. But with Mars square to Neptune, you may feel a bit of doubt related to your efforts in your work. Mars is our assertion, it's our physical energy output. And when it meets with Neptune in this kind of aspect, basically our effort and work gets dissolved, or it kind of goes into a void. So it vanishes without any sort of recognition or outcome. So it can feel very frustrating, but as well as it's the type of energy that can really make us feel inferior, especially when it's involving Sun and Mars. Because of the houses Mars is, involved in these planets' positions, you may be dealing with doubt or fear around shared financial resources, investment, or debt, or any sort of work-related partnerships. And then on the 19th of December, we do have our new moon in Sagittarius. This is happening at the cusp of your 7th and 8th house. The new moon in itself is always a new beginning. In Sagittarius, it can even be a birth of a new vision related to either a loss, money-related issues, partnerships. But what's interesting about this new moon is it is square to both Saturn and Neptune. So again, it can feel a limiting energy, even though you have a sense of new direction or a new vision. It's clouded and it's hazy, and you may be confused as to what steps to take. There can be energies of uncertainty, fear, and doubt surrounding this new sense of beginning as well. Sagittarius energy is seeing the bigger picture. So, your perspectives can expand to provide you with this new sense of purpose, meaning, or vision. But it is clouded with a lot of like a risk. It can feel like a risky type of a decision, and it can feel like a loss at first. So I would love to know how this energy kind of plays out in your life. Obviously, depending on the placements that these planets rule in your personal chart and the placements that it activates, it can have slightly different sort of outcomes for you. On the 20th, Moon is going to move forward in Capricorn and conjunct Mars in Capricorn in your 8th house. Mars in Capricorn is a very strong placement. Typically, it talks about grit, determination, strength, of willpower, of physical assertion or physical energy. But when it's on the moon, especially moon in Capricorn, our emotional, although there is a sense of stability and our emotions being grounded, we can feel very insecure. Capricorn is a bit of a pessimistic and depressing sign for the moon to be in. And with the Mars there as well, it can be very overwhelming, almost like our emotions are being violated. So on the 20th is a difficult day where we may have to face with some sort of conflict or confrontation, especially as Venus is also perfecting a square aspect to Saturn on this day as well. Venus is our ability to receive and accept love, affection, our ability to connect with other people. But with Saturn square, all of that can feel very restrictive and out of our reach. It can make us feel very unlovable and undeserving. So we may deal with a lot of self-doubt as well as just feeling unloved on this day. And then a couple of days later, Venus does move forward and perfect a square aspect to Neptune at the cusp of your 11th house. So this can, for some of us, can be a very deceptive, elusive energy, especially related to friendships and trust and fears around maybe even, trusting or connecting with other people. There is a vulnerability that comes with Venus squaring Saturn and Neptune. You may possibly experience some sort of romantic pain or disappointments in romantic relationships as well. Typically, with Saturn and Neptune, sacrifice or hardship may be demanded in our social circles or in our friendship groups. But the way the month is ending, it's very different from how it began. So from December 24th to the 31st, we have a stellium in Capricorn. Sun, Venus, and Mars are now in Capricorn, traveling through your 8th house. When the Sun and Venus are in an earth and heavy, burdensome energy like Capricorn, our sense of vitality feels down. Our sense of energy and spirit is just burdened a bit. We can feel pessimistic, maybe even experience depression as well, especially when it is the 8th house. But Mars in Capricorn is strong. It's an exalted placement. So Mars here can take that energy and put it towards establishing or setting new goals, or taking steady but slow steps towards work that matters. It is a very ambitious and driven energy. So we are likely to end the month of December with a more serious and realistic outlook in life. I think that's all the messages I have for you, Gemini, for the month of December. I hope you have happy holidays and a great month, and I will see you in 2026.